My wife disappeared the night after our wedding and left behind a single sentence. Remember what you did. The morning after our wedding, I woke up alone. Not just alone in the bed, alone in the entire house. I remember the light coming through the window, soft and golden, catching the edge of her veil, which had been draped over the vanity chair like she meant to come back for it. Her heels were still by the closet. Lipstick, too. Half a coffee on the nightstand. But no her. At first, I thought maybe she was with her friends, some leftover bridal brunch, maybe. Or went for a walk. It had been a late night, a wild one. We were both exhausted and buzzing from the celebration. I figured she'd be back any second. I texted her. Hey babe, where'd you sneak off to? Miss you already. No reply. I waited. Took a shower. Made toast. Checked my phone again. Nothing. By noon, I called 3 times. Straight to voicemail. At 1:15 p.m. I walked into the kitchen and found the note. Folded neatly. No envelope. Just sitting there like a trap. One sentence. Remember what you did. That was it. No signature. No explanation. No trace. I stared at the note so long the words started to look foreign. I picked it up, turned it over. Nothing on the back. And that's when the feeling hit me, this deep, ice-cold certainty in my chest that something was terribly, terribly wrong. I called her again. Then her maid of honor. Then her parents. Nobody had heard from her. Not since last night. Not since the reception. Everyone assumed we'd be off-grid for our honeymoon. They figured she was with me. And I had no idea what to say. What was I supposed to say? Hey, sorry, the bride's missing, and left me a cryptic message like she's some Bond villain? I went back through the house. Nothing was taken. Her bags, untouched. Passport still in the drawer. No signs of struggle. No forced entry. Just absence. I retraced everything from the night before. The ceremony. The vows. The dance. Her smile. That ridiculous cake-cutting moment when she smeared icing on my nose and everyone laughed. She had been there. Fully present. Radiant. No sign that 12 hours later she'd vanish into thin air. Except now, every smile felt suspect. Every glance rehearsed. I found myself back in our bedroom, staring at her wedding dress, hung on the door like a ghost. That's when the second note fell out. It was tucked in the lining, barely visible unless you moved it. This one said, "Ask your brother." And that's when the memories started crawling back. Stuff I thought I'd buried. Stuff I thought no one else knew. I picked up my phone and called James. When James picked up, he sounded groggy. Still hungover from the wedding, probably. "What's up, man? Everything okay?" I didn't answer right away. I just held the phone and listened to his breathing. "Dude, you there?" "She's gone," I said. Silence. "What do you mean, gone?" I woke up. She wasn't here. Nobody's heard from her. Not her friends. Not her mom. And she left a note. 2, actually. That got his attention. What kind of notes? I didn't hesitate. One said, "Remember what you did." The other said, "Ask your brother." His breathing changed. Subtle. Sharper. But he tried to play it cool. That's weird, man. Maybe she just freaked out? You know, wedding jitters, stress. Cut the bullshit, James. What did you do? His silence was louder than anything he could have said. "Look," he finally said, "I didn't do anything. At least not to her." What the hell does that mean? It means whatever you did, it wasn't just yours to bury. I froze. Because I knew exactly what he was talking about. We hadn't spoken about it in over a decade. A moment buried so deep I'd convinced myself it hadn't really mattered. That the past couldn't touch the present. But clearly, someone had dug it up. She knows, doesn't she? James didn't answer. "You told her?" "No," he said quickly. Too quickly. But someone did. I was pacing now. Back and forth in the living room, phone gripped like it might explode. "Who else knew, James? You think I kept a list? You were there. You saw it happen. You helped me cover it. And I've kept my mouth shut for 15 damn years. Don't pin this on me." Then how the hell does she know? James exhaled, long and slow. "I don't know. Maybe someone talked. Maybe she found something. But you gotta deal with this, man. Because if she left, she's not just running. She's making a point." He was right. This wasn't a runaway bride story. It was a reckoning. I hung up, walked to the closet, dug through an old shoebox buried under sweaters and tax files. Inside, a folded piece of yellowing paper. Water-stained. Faded handwriting. Her name wasn't on it. But the initials at the bottom? They matched hers. And I knew I had less time than I thought. The paper in my hand trembled, but not because I was scared. Because I remembered. I remembered the night it all went wrong. We were 17. It was summer. That stupid barn party in the woods behind Carter's property, the kind of thing teenagers do when they think the world can't see them. Cheap beer, loud music, kids pretending they weren't kids. James and I showed up late, already a little drunk. I don't remember who brought the pills, just that they were passed around like candy. A little white tablet, supposedly Adderall. Supposedly harmless. There was a girl. Quiet, dark hair. Eyes like she was always seeing something the rest of us missed. Her name was Lacey. She wasn't in our friend group. Not really. Just someone who floated through. I don't remember why we ended up near the back of the barn. I don't remember if she followed us or if we followed her. But what I do remember, what I've never forgotten, is how everything spun out of control. She passed out. Not dramatically. Not with screaming or sirens. Just slumped. Quiet. James panicked. I froze. We didn't know what she'd taken. We didn't know how much. But instead of calling someone, instead of helping, we ran. Left her there. Alone. By the time they found her, it was too late. They said it was an accident. That she mixed something dangerous. That no one knew what really happened that night. But we knew. We were there. And I've carried that guilt like a splinter in my spine ever since. So when I found her initials on that paper, when I traced the old cursive like it might bite me, I knew it wasn't just a coincidence. L.W. Lacey Winters. And somehow, my wife, my new, vanished wife, was connected to her. I pulled up my laptop. Started searching. Not just Lacey's name, but anything tied to it. Obits, memorials, old forums. It didn't take long to find the post. A blog. Simple layout. Black text on white. Title, What You Don't Forget. It was written by someone named Hannah Winters, her younger sister. And right there in the third paragraph, they said it was an accident. But I never believed that. My sister didn't take pills. She didn't trust strangers. Someone was with her that night, and whoever they were, they let her die. I read the whole thing. Twice. And with each word, my stomach turned tighter. Because she described the barn, the party, the rumors. A blurry photo someone had posted from that night, the one with James and me half visible in the corner. She saw us. She knew. And the more I looked at the grainy image, the more I saw her. Not Hannah. My wife. She had been there too. And I married her without realizing it. My hands went cold. She didn't leave me. Not really. She was setting the stage. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, not the woman I married, but the girl in that photo, half shrouded in shadow, watching us from the edge of the barn. Watching me. I must have replayed the reception 100 times in my head. Her laughter, the toast she gave, the way she looked at me when we danced. She played the part so well. But now I knew. Every word, every smile, every kiss, it had all been scripted. I married the sister of the girl I let die. And somehow, she kept it quiet long enough to slip a ring on my finger. I don't know if that made her brilliant or dangerous. Maybe both. By morning, I was still staring at my screen, scrolling through every post Hannah Winters had ever made. Blog entries. Comments. Memorials. She'd spent the better part of her adult life trying to uncover what happened that night, piecing together names, stories, faces. There was one thread, buried deep in an old forum, where she listed everyone who was at that party, cross-referencing yearbooks, MySpace photos, local rumors. I found my name, misspelled, but it was there. So was James's, and a comment beneath it, dated 2 years ago. Anyone know where I can find these two? 2 replies. No answers. But she hadn't let it go. She'd just gotten smarter. She changed her name, built a new identity, found me, dated me, married me, and now she'd disappeared, leaving behind breadcrumbs like landmines. I didn't know what the endgame was. Revenge? Exposure? Something worse? But I knew one thing. If she was trying to make me squirm, it was working. I called James again. He answered on the second ring this time. She's Hannah, I said. She's Lacey's sister. He didn't even pretend to be surprised. I figured. You figured. I saw her face at the reception. Thought she looked familiar, but I couldn't place it. Not until I woke up this morning with this pit in my gut. Why didn't you say anything? Because I was hoping I was wrong. I almost laughed. Bitter, hello? Yeah, me too. What do you think she's gonna do? He asked. I don't know. But she's not doing it loud. That's the part that scares me. There was a pause. Maybe we should tell someone, James said. Like, legally. Get ahead of it. I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. And say what? Hey, officer, we might have helped cover up a girl's accidental overdose 15 years ago, and now her sister tricked me into marrying her. Better than waiting for her to light the fuse. She already lit it, I said. We're just waiting to see what blows up. There was silence on the line. Heavy. Uneasy. Then James whispered, what if she's not planning to go public? What do you mean? What if she wants something worse than exposure? I knew what he meant. I just didn't want to say it out loud. What if she wants to break us piece by piece, he said. Not in court, but in private. One memory at a time. My stomach dropped. Because if that was true, then this wasn't about justice. It was personal. And it was far from over. I didn't go to work that week. Didn't check emails. Didn't answer calls. My phone buzzed constantly, friends, coworkers, even my parents wondering why I'd gone silent right after the wedding. I told them we extended the honeymoon. A lie. I was still in the house. Still in the same clothes. Still staring at the note she left like it was some kind of scripture. Remember what you did. As if I ever forgot. The morning of the third day, a package arrived. No return address. Just my name. Inside, a photograph. It was from the barn party. Not the one from the blog. This was sharper. Clearer. Someone had kept it all these years. And in it, me. Standing over Lacey. You couldn't see her face, just her legs, twisted unnaturally. And my hand, reaching out, then frozen. Like I was deciding whether to help her or not. I stared at that photo for hours. Then I flipped it over. Written in red ink, this is the moment I knew you were a coward. I dropped it like it burned me. I didn't cry. I couldn't. The guilt was too old. Too calcified. It didn't flow like grief anymore. It just sat there, heavy and constant, like a tumor. That night, I poured a drink. Then another. By the third, I started talking to the empty room like she was still there. You think I don't hate myself? I said. You think this hasn't haunted me every day since? The room said nothing. I was a kid, I whispered. I scared. Stupid kid who froze up and ran. I didn't mean to hurt her. I didn't. But even as I said it, I knew how it sounded. Because she didn't care about what I meant. She cared about what I did. The next morning, I found her laptop. She hadn't taken it with her. At first, I thought maybe it was bait. Some twisted game where she left behind just enough for me to find. But when I opened it, it was locked. Password protected. I tried everything. Her birthday. Our anniversary. Her dog's name. Nothing worked. Then I tried something stupid. Lacey. And it opened. The desktop was clean. Just one folder on the home screen. Titled, Truth. Inside, files. Photos. Voice memos. Scans of police reports. Screen captures of text James and I had sent each other in high school. I didn't even remember those conversations, but they were real. Brutal. Immature. Evidence of two boys laughing their way through a mess they didn't understand. She had everything. And at the bottom of the folder, a video file. Dated 3 weeks before the wedding. I hesitated. Then clicked. It was her. Sitting in our bedroom. Wearing the robe I bought her for Christmas. She looked directly into the camera. If you're watching this, she said, then I'm gone. Not dead. Just gone. Because I need you to know what this really was. She took a breath. Composed. Calm. Cold. You thought I loved you. Maybe I even did. A little. But mostly, I needed to look you in the eyes and see if you'd ever admit it. What you did. Who you were. She leaned closer. You never did. My chest tightened. She continued. So here's how this works. You can keep living in that house. Keep playing husband to a ghost. Or you can face it. Really face it. Talk to her family. Tell them the truth. Apologize. Publicly. Without excuses. She paused. Or I will. The screen went black. I sat there in silence, the echo of her voice still ringing in my ears. Because this wasn't blackmail. It was a challenge. And she knew me well enough to know I didn't have an answer yet. I didn't move for hours after watching the video. I just sat there, knees pulled to my chest on the couch like I was 15 again, waiting for the worst to be over. But it wasn't over. It was just beginning. She turned my house into a confession booth. And me? I was the coward holding the mic. By evening, I cracked the window open, lit a cigarette I hadn't touched in years, and called James. She recorded a video, I said. His voice was hoarse. What did she say? She's giving me a choice. Tell the truth, publicly. Or she will. James was quiet. Too quiet. Then finally, do you think she means it? She doesn't bluff. He sighed. If this goes public, if she posts any of that stuff. She has everything, James. Texts, screenshots, reports. She's been building a case for years. And you know what? She didn't even need to fake a single word. We gave it all to her. We just didn't think anyone would ever look. There was a long pause. What are you going to do? I don't know. You could run, he said. I did. 15 years ago. Look where that got me. He didn't argue. The next morning, I got in my car. Drove 2 towns over to a little white house with green shutters and an overgrown lawn. I hadn't been there since I was a teenager. Lacey's childhood home. I sat in the car for 10 minutes before getting out. My hands were sweating. My heart was thudding like it was trying to warn me. I walked to the front door and knocked. It opened faster than I expected. The woman standing there looked like time had chiseled sorrow into every line on her face. Mrs. Winters. She stared at me. No smile. No welcome. Just recognition. I was wondering when you'd show up, she said. I swallowed. Can I come in? She stepped aside. The house hadn't changed. Same photos on the mantel. Same floral couch. Same air of grief hanging over everything like dust. I sat. She didn't. She told me, she said. Hannah, not everything, but enough. I didn't mean for it to happen. She raised a hand. Don't insult me with that. I looked down. I was scared. I froze. I panicked. And then you left her, she said flatly. You left my daughter alone in a barn to die. I couldn't look up. Couldn't breathe. You want forgiveness? She asked. No, I said, quietly. I want to stop hiding. There was silence. Then she walked to the mantel, picked up a photo, Lacey in a yellow dress, mid-laugh. She was gentle, Mrs. Winters said. Too gentle for this world. That night broke something in all of us. I know. She turned back to me. Then prove it. Speak her name. In public. Not for Hannah. For her. I nodded. I didn't trust myself to speak. On the way home, I stopped at a park. Sat on a bench. Watched kids play. Tried to remember what it felt like to be innocent. But innocence wasn't something you could reclaim. It was something you buried. Deep. And maybe, just maybe, this was my chance to dig it up. One truth at a time. I didn't sleep again that night. Not because I was tormented, but because for the first time, I was writing. By morning, the letter was 7 pages long. I didn't bother making it eloquent. I didn't try to sound noble or smart or wounded. I wrote it the way I should have said it 15 years ago. Truthfully, I scanned the whole thing, saved it as a PDF, wrote a new email and attached the file. Subject line, what I should have said then. Then I sent it to every person on Hannah's blog thread, every commenter, every curious friend of a friend. And last, I sent it to her. No message, just the letter. After that, I waited. By noon, my inbox looked like a fire alarm. Messages flooded in. Some kind, some cruel, some demanding more names, photos, timelines. James called 4 times. I didn't pick up. Then, around 3:42 p.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. I didn't think you'd actually do it, she said. Hannah. Her voice was colder than I remembered. Measured, but not angry. I told the truth, I said. I saw. Silence. Did it make a difference? I asked. She was quiet for a long time. Then, softly, it made you human. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. I don't expect forgiveness, I said. Not from you. Not from your mom. Not from anyone. I know. But I meant what I said. I've lived with that night every day. I made excuses. I hid. I lied. And maybe this doesn't undo it. Maybe it never can. But at least now, it's not hidden anymore. Another pause. Then she asked, do you still love me? It caught me off guard. I don't know if I ever deserved to, I said. She didn't respond right away. Then, good answer. Click. She hung up. I sat with that silence for a long time. Then my phone buzzed again. A new email. From Hannah. No text. Just an attachment. A video. I opened it. It was our wedding. The whole thing. From her perspective. Her camera. But it wasn't a celebration. It was a documentary. Clips of me laughing, dancing, smiling, intercut with overlays of the blog posts, the photos from the barn, the texts. Her voice narrated the entire thing. Not angry. Not vicious. Just honest. It ended with her standing in our living room, veil in hand. I needed to see if you were capable of owning your truth, she said to the camera. Not for me. Not even for Lacey. For yourself. She looked into the lens. If you're watching this, I guess you finally did. fade to black, and then one final slide. A single sentence. You can let go now. 3 weeks passed before I heard from her again. No phone calls. No emails. No more messages tucked in old books or sudden packages at the door. Just silence and the fallout. James was furious. Said I dragged him into a mess we could have outrun. But the truth was, we'd never stopped running. Not really. And now that it was out there, I wasn't sorry. I still hadn't left the house. Not because I was hiding. I just didn't know what came next. There's no guidebook for what to do after you confess your worst moment to the world. But then, on a gray Thursday morning, the doorbell rang. I opened it, and there she was. Hannah. No suitcase. No threat. Just standing there in a raincoat. I steady. Can I come in? She asked. I stepped aside. She walked through like she'd never left. Like this was just another Wednesday. We sat in the living room. Same place I found her note. Same place I watched her video. I don't know what to say, I finally admitted. You don't have to say anything. We sat in silence. The rain tapped against the windows like it was listening. Why did you come back? I asked. She took a long breath. Because closure isn't a line. It's a loop. You circle it until it stops hurting. I thought you hated me. I did, she said. And maybe part of me still does. But I needed to see if the man I married was the boy from the barn, or something else. And, you're not that boy anymore. I nodded. My throat ached. Do you want to stay? I asked. She looked at me. Really looked. I don't know. Not yet. But I wanted to see if the door was still open. It is. She nodded once. Then she reached into her coat pocket, pulled out something small, placed it on the coffee table. It was her wedding ring. I'm not putting this back on yet, she said. But I'm not throwing it away either. I didn't reach for it. I understand. She stood. I'll call you, she said. Okay. Then she was gone again. Not vanished. Not running. Just gone. And for the first time since our wedding night, the house didn't feel haunted. It felt honest. And maybe that was enough. For now. 6 months later, she moved back in. Not like before, not as wife, not as lover. As something quieter. Truer. We were rebuilding. Slowly. With boundaries. She stayed in the guest room. We didn't sleep in the same bed. We didn't make promises. But she was there. And so was I. Some nights we talked for hours. Others we barely said a word. But the silence between us wasn't heavy anymore. It was patient. Room to breathe. I started going to therapy. At first, I thought it was just something to check off her list, proof I was doing the work. But then I found myself waiting for the next session, telling truths I hadn't even told myself. Grief is a strange thing. It doesn't always come in storms. Sometimes it's the whisper in your own voice asking, why didn't you help her? I still don't have a good answer. But I'm learning to live with the question. James stopped calling. Said I'd ruined both our lives. Maybe he's right. But at least mine is finally real. A month ago, I gave a speech. It was at a high school assembly, a favor through my therapist. They were running a program about accountability, addiction, teenage risk. They asked if anyone wanted to share a story. I told them about Lacey. I didn't hide the names. Didn't soften the facts. I told them about the pills. The barn. The moment I froze. About how I ran. About what it cost. When I finished, nobody clapped. They just sat there. Silent. And that silence. It didn't feel like judgment. It felt like weight. Like understanding. Afterward, a girl came up to me. Maybe 16. Shaky voice, eyes red. She said, my brother OD'd last year. I always thought his friends just didn't care. But now, I think they were just scared. I nodded. We didn't say much more. But something passed between us, a recognition of pain that didn't need to be polished or explained. That night, I came home to find Hannah sitting on the porch, blanket around her shoulders. She looked at me. How'd it go? I sat beside her. Told her everything. When I was done, she reached into her pocket. Pulled out her ring. I'm not ready to wear it yet, she said. But I want it where it belongs. She placed it on the table beside my keys. Not a promise. Not a declaration. Just a maybe. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was chasing redemption. I was living it. One brutal, honest day at a time. A year after the wedding, the one that never really was, we held another ceremony. This time, there were no guests. No cake. No DJ. No photo shoots or flower arrangements. Just us. In the backyard. Under a crooked elm tree that shed leaves like confetti. I stood in front of her with no script. No best man. No secrets. She wore the same dress. said she wanted to reclaim it. And she did. We didn't read vows. We read letters. Mine, a confession. Hers, a reckoning. And somewhere in the middle, forgiveness. Not the pretty kind. Not the poetic, movie-ending kind. The hard kind. The kind where both people know exactly what they're forgiving. When it was done, she didn't cry. Neither did I. We just sat in the grass, letting the wind carry what it needed to. Later that night, we lit a single candle on the porch. No occasion. No symbolism. Just warmth. She slipped her ring back on. No speech. No fanfare. Just a quiet moment between two people who had survived something they didn't think they would. The story didn't end with justice. It ended with truth. And truth, as it turns out, is enough to build a life on.